Okay, thank you very much for not all disappearing and listening to my presentation. I'm going to present to you a new initiative, which is called the Global Flood Partnership, which we launched last year only. It is co-chaired by the European Commission Joint Research Center and the Dartmouth Flood Observatory. Now, in this conference, we hear a lot about disasters, and one of the major disasters worldwide is flooding. And here you see on this map locations where flooding has taken place over the last 25, 30 years. And it's clear that floods can take place almost everywhere in the world. So it is a global problem. However, flooding happens at a certain location where the river goes out of its bed. And so it's a local phenomena, but through the increasing globalization that we are experiencing, any interruption of the supply chain through a disaster will ripple through worldwide the industry, and thus it can really have a worldwide aspect. Also, we know that there is an increasing stress of population increase. We also know that our climates are changing, so flooding is an issue that is not only with us now and in the past, but it will stay with us also in the future. If you want to work on flooding in a comprehensive way, as it is promoted here at the conference, to provide early warning system and to provide information to all population for major disasters, we need to start working together. Working together in the case of flooding means a truly interdisciplinary effort. We need to be meteorologists and hydrologists working together. We need to have the IT people that manage data, know how to share data, set up systems, visualize information. We need to have people that know how to record what a flood is, build up databases that can assess the risk, that we can know where is hazard and where is the flood risk. We equally need to have different communities connecting, like scientists with the end users, different decision makers, policy makers, humanitarian aid. And finally, flooding often is a transnational event. Rivers don't stop at a border, so different nations and countries need to work together. So it's a truly multidisciplinary challenge. At the European Commission, we have quite a lot of experience in working on that. For example, we've been developing a European flood awareness system that is kind of complementing what is done at the national level. And we are also working together with different end users, whether it be the experts or whether it will be the decision makers on a European level, either European level or in the countries. Equally globally, we have developed solutions for global flood detection using satellite data, again working with different stakeholders in there. So we do have a lot of experience. And coming out of that, we realized that there's so much going on. Why don't we sit together and discuss and bring all our information together? So that was the birth of the Global Floods Working Group about 4 or 5 years ago, where we had different people coming together, illustrating what they had. And it was such an enthusiastic group, and it has been such a pleasure to be in these meetings because there was so much expertise, there was so much interest in the things that we've been doing, that finally the decision was taken within the group, why don't we bring this to something a bit more formal? Why don't we launch a global flood partnership? And this was launched last year. So you see here at the conference were about 70 to 80 people, all of them presenting very innovative solutions with a lot of interest, a lot of enthusiasm. And at the meeting, it was really excellent to see, for example, there is someone doing flood inundation mapping, very high resolution. If I could only plug this into my forecasting system, it would be an excellent new product. And this kind of new innovation and the new ideas were really accelerating. I think everybody was very positive about it. And so we launched this partnership at this conference. Giving it a slight framework, we arranged the partnership around 4 major pillars. One of the pillars, important 2 pillars, are the flood box and the observatory. In the toolbox, the idea is that we collect tools that are capable of forecasting, detecting, assessing the risk, harvesting from the social media, and bring all of that together also as a service that would be running on a daily basis and which could then be analyzed as information by the Flood Observatory. So the idea is to cover the globe with this kind of information, not as high resolution as the countries can do themselves, but not every country may have transnational flood river forecasting or satellite detection available. So we're trying to fill the gap and complement what is existing. Very important also is to build up a database of flood records, because floods are classified slightly differently. Their losses are defined in a different way, which makes it very difficult to intercompare. So the idea is to build up a decent flood record database that we can actually look into the past and learn lessons for the future. And finally, within the partnership, there's a lot of knowledge, but obviously we want to bring that, we want to reach out to others. There will be training and capacity building. And then around this are then, of course, connected the research community, which is very interested in that because there's a lot of data and a lot of wealth that can be developed here. Users and end users, decision makers that can use that information. Now you may say, okay, this is the Floods Partnership launched last year, one of the many partnerships that we have. So what is the news? Well, you should have picked up the keywords of my presentation by now. The keywords is really, it's a global. So there are not that many services providing global information on flood detection forecasting. It's operational. So we really want to come up with an operational product that at the end of the day, on a daily basis, people within the partnership and the observatory can analyze the information and have it readily available. So that countries that are in stress because of a major disaster, that don't need to deal too much with the international aid organization, for example, because information be readily there. It's supposed to be really innovative, and there's a lot of innovation in that partnership. And we share the information. Now, when I say sharing, I open a big parenthesis. Sharing, yes. Everything that is non-sensitive can be shared with the public. However, some sensitive information will be restricted, like, for example, forecasting. So when partnership is not interfering with authorities that have the mandate to issue flood alerts and warnings. So there is no interference here. And in fact, it works already. I'm illustrating to you at the example of Malawi that in fact the partnership, even though it only exists since a year, has already some added value. You remember perhaps the news and the heavy rainfalls that happened in southern Africa beginning of the year, resulting in major flooding in Malawi and in Mozambique. And on the 13th of January, the president of Malawi declared a state of emergency. Next. Okay, now the Global Floods Partnership was already activated. So on the 13th, the state of emergency was declared. On the 14th, the World Food Programme, which is partner of the partnership, was asking if anybody has more information on this event. And then on the 14th already, they got a report from the Global Flood Awareness System with a forecast for the rainfall and a forecast also of the flooding to take place. The EU Civil Protection shared their information on the portal with the World Food Programme. On the 15th, they got an extreme rainfall assessment target on impact by region from Ithaca. And there was a whole flood of information from the satellite community discussing where can World Food Programme access satellite data for mapping. There was a clarification on the charter, whether the charter had been activated or not, if someone else wants to take some images. All that was additional information within 2 days that then the World Food Programme and other organizations were provided with. And this trailed down, so it's not like a forgotten event, but on the 27th, the EU Copernicus Emergency Management Service was triggered, and all this information has been shared within the partnership. And this is just to illustrate to you some examples that are then made available. For example, the Global Floods Awareness System provided a forecast, has forecast on rainfall, what is the probability of exceeding certain probabilities. The Extreme Forecasting Index from ECMWF here was indicating that the predicted rainfalls for that event severely exceeded what you would expect in terms of climatology. So it was clear that this would be a really serious event and continue to be a serious event. And the forecasts were then predicting, for example, here for the Zambezi, a peak only in 1 week time. The Dartmouth Flood Observatory has been monitoring and mapping this event continuously. This is an example of the flood extent mapping, which seeing which areas are flooded compared to history. Equally an indicator of the severity of the event compared to previous years, really giving additional information. This is the map I talked about, Ithaca. They provided this extreme rainfall assessment by really targeting by region, which is often more informative for the decision makers on the ground. And then a whole list of different links shared on satellite data and then other information that might be valuable for the people. So this is just a brief illustration of the Global Flag Partnership. If you have any comments or questions, you can ask me or my colleague Tom de Groeve, who's also standing here. We're the two of the author list. Or if you have any concerns or if you have any suggestions, you can come and join the partnership, just subscribe to it. You can come to the conference and discuss with us the new products that we are having, discussing also how to become a member of the Global Flag Partnership. There will be some rules that will be established, so organizations need to sign up to that so that we can respect the national mandates and not interfering with national authorities. Any kind of information you want to share with us, please come to the conference or just contact us by email.